All right, so another really common algorithm in the AP exam and something that is, again, all over computer science is finding the maximum value or the minimum value in a piece of data. So let's go ahead and try to find the maximum value in a set of numbers that a user would input. Let's take a look and see how we would do that. So let's say, for example, we want to take a user's input and we want to find the maximum value. First thing we need to do is actually create the minimum value for an integer. And think about why this is. Why would we want to set our integer max to an initial value remember this constant attached to the integer class that we want the lowest possible number within the integer number space. Well, anything above that is going to be the current maximum. So we want to set the floor as low as we can. And we can't go to negative infinity, right? But we can go to the minimum value, negative 2 billion for our cases is small enough. So let's set up a little program then that checks and sees if a user's input is the maximum value, or whatever the maximum value of a user's input is. So we can do this. We can write a little while loop, and we can say that this while loop, let's go ahead, we're going to use -1 as our test number. So let's say -1, and we're going to need to, actually before I do this, we're going to need to set up one more variable. We need to set up one more variable, which is the user input, so that we can test our while. So while int num, and we'll go ahead and set that equal to 0. Actually, we won't give that. We'll go ahead and set it to our max. That way we have a consistent value here. So while integer num equals max, we can check that while num does not equal -1, then we'll continue. This is not a perfect algorithm. We'll figure out ways to get around this problem where -1, part of the number set, is a check. We'll get around that later, but for now this works. And we're going to ask our user out.print println enter number, not EEN, enter number, or -1 to quit. So they can enter a number, or if they enter -1, this will become false, and it will kick us out, right? So now we need to take in that user's number. So now we say num, and we're going to set it equal to scan.nextInt. And we'll say for expediency's sake that already earlier in my code, I set up a new scanner and set it to scan and did all the things that I need to do for that. So this is our scan. Make sure it's a lowercase s so we can remember that it's a variable name and not a class name. And I take in that number. Okay, I've asked them for a number. I've taken in that number. Now how do I check if it is the biggest number? Well, real simple. I do a simple if statement. If my number is bigger than my maximum, well, then number is now my new maximum. It's the new biggest number because it's bigger than the current maximum. And remember, our current maximum is the smallest number you can put in an integer. So immediately, the very first number someone puts in is automatically going to be the max number, unless, of course, it is the minimum integer value, in which case we haven't cause any problems because that's still the maximum value. So if our number is bigger than maximum, we need to say our maximum is now that number. So max now gets the value of num. So maximum gets a value of num since num was our new biggest number if this is true. And our user gets to enter a new -1. We don't have to do anything else. We can simply close out our program. So this will run, and a user can keep entering in numbers as long as they don't enter a -1. It will keep checking to see if that is the maximum value. And then after our while statement, we can write an out.println of the biggest number was, and concatenate num. Or actually max, I'm sorry. And close that out. So now it keeps track of what the biggest number was, and when you're done with the while loop, it simply prints out whatever that largest number was. So in just a few lines of code, we're able to quickly and easily track what the maximum number is. Now take a moment, pause, and think about what we would need to do, what fairly small changes we would need to make in order to test for the smallest number in a given set of data. See if you can do that one on your own. I'll see you guys in the next one.